Hello again, this is Bionic Slime. I am your online voice for reviews of your choice, and welcome to BS Reviews. Today's requested review comes from YouTube user Skillfulist, who has requested the anime series Rune Soldier. Rune Soldier is brought to you by ADV Films and was directed by Yoshitaka Koyama, who's directed such anime as Miami Guns and worked on the anime series Triple X Holic, with artwork done by Kenji Kato, who's done such art for animes like Orphan and Shuffle. Stars the vocal cast of Allison Keith as Meryl, Christine M. Otten as Jeannie, Jason Douglas as Louie, Shelley Killian Black as Melissa, and Jenny Strader as Isla. The plot of Rune Soldier. In the town of Ofen, Meryl, Jeannie, and Melissa are three female would-be adventurers who need a magician in order to complete their team so they can go on real official adventures and accumulate fame, treasure, and all that good stuff. Unfortunately, all of the female magicians lack either the stomach or the experience to be of any actual use to their team. Enter Louie, the adopted son of the head of the Magician's Guild. Don't let the title fool you, though. He's actually a colossal dumbass when it comes to magic, so they initially reject him. However, Melissa, who happens to be a priestess, receives a divine intervention kind of sign, saying that Louie is in fact her, quote, valiant champion, a holy figure that she must follow according to her religion, and this forces the other girls to unfortunately accept Louie as their sort of trial-based magician member of their team. So now Meryl, Jeannie, and Melissa reluctantly take Louie along the way in order to go on various adventures, uncover dangerous plots, and overall just try to make Louie not suck so much. Review of the plot. First thing you need to know about this anime, it's a bashing anime, and by that I mean it bashes the shit out of Louie and males in general. And anyone who's seen my past work knows that I make it no mystery that I utterly despise animes that do this kind of thing. I don't think it's funny, I think it's piss poor writing, and I think it's just a terrible way to make a show funny, because to me it's not funny. However, every rule has its exception, and in this case, Rune Soldier is mine. Why, you may ask? Because above all the bashing, the one thing that makes Rune Soldier really different is that it takes adventuring back to basics. Anyone who's seen anime series like Slayers knows that those are shows that start off with the main characters already being well-experienced adventurers. Well, here, let's go back to the beginning and show you how hard it is to actually become adventurer. I mean, these characters don't have the experience, they don't have fame, they don't have any real missions under their belt. So it's like Adventuring 101 in anime form. So you're taken along the ride, along with the main characters, learning what it takes to be an adventurer, how hard it is to get money, how hard it is to find work as an adventurer, and that it's not always as easy as other shows make it out to be. And I really liked that approach to it. The other interesting aspect about the storyline is that it keeps it very fresh because each episode is its own distinct little adventure. My particular favorite have to be the two weird episodes in the series, Meryl's Jar and Transformation Times 5, because these episodes are very standalone-ish in the fact that they're so vastly different compared to the other episodes that you really just got to be amazed at how well written they were and at how they could feel so different but being in the same series. It's really hard to explain, but once you see the episodes, you can understand how fresh these ideas are and how they keep the storyline working in new ways. Review of the characters. Because the show focuses so much on the whole trying to be an adventure aspect, you got to have characters who are actually interesting enough that you want to watch them go through these trials, and Rune Soldier does a very good job of that. Jason Douglas, in my opinion, gave his best performance here as Louie. He makes the character very different than I think everyone expects him to be. He's portrayed as sort of like a super dumbass, but in truth, the character's actually quite nice, and Jason Douglas does a good mix of not only being humorous but being serious at the same time. It's a really tough role to be the comedy relief, but at the same time be the main character and trying to be serious. And I think that really works well with Douglas's performance. I've always loved him as a voice actor, and I think this role in this show is no exception of how awesome he is as a voice actor. Allison Keith, another personal favorite of mine. I love her as Meryl. Even though Meryl is the bitchiest of the group, I have to say she's my favorite character. And I think the reason why is because she's a thief, and she's always like a greedy little weasel in the show. But at the same time, the show constantly knocks her back down because of karma and all that other shit. They make the character sort of contradict herself as that she's a thief, she tries to get away with everything, but the show doesn't let her. And I think that's a funny way to do this character. And especially with Alison Keith's outrageous reactions to, it's a very funny character, and I find myself liking her a lot, even though she treats Louie like dog shit. Christine M. Lawton was very good at Jeannie. In fact, I think she was the most complex character because her character was not as clear cut as everyone else's, and the way she portrayed her made her much more interesting to watch and much more different as a character. She's not your typical female warrior. Shelley Killian Black did a good job as Melissa, but she kind of got repetitive after a while. The character falls into a lot of repeated jokes and cliches, and it kind of diminishes her capacity as an actress to keep redoing these same old jokes over and over and over again. So on that note, it kind of hinders her as a character and as an actress. Kate Strader was good as Isla. I haven't heard her in many animes, and I actually really liked her character here. She sometimes gave it too soft of a performance, but I liked her take on the character either way, if that makes sense. I think she served a good role in the show. I think she could have used a bit more emotional, in terms of elevation of the voice and making herself sound much more emotional. But overall, she was a good character. Not too bad, not too great. I mean, it was just okay, sort of thing. View of the animation and the music. I get 2 thumbs up to both of these things because both of these were really well done in this show. The animation, though computerized, obviously, from the way it's drawn, is still really nicely colored. I mean, there's lots of bright, vibrant colors, and I think that really helps make the characters much more distinguishable, unique, and it makes the landscape look much more interesting and fun to watch as the characters run through. I really love the color scheme here. It was so bright, so unique, so distinct, so different. Music, I really love the theme song. It's extremely freaking catchy. I mean, it gets stuck in my head so many times. And the music of the show was also good. It really got boring, never got tiresome. It was never, to go beyond the distance good, but it was still good for what it was worth. Flaws about the show. Rune Soldier suffers from 3 very serious flaws that no matter how hard I tried, I could not overlook. First one being the male bashing. First half of the show, every male character, Louie included, is depicted as either being incompetent, perverted, greedy, or a total asshole. It's really insulting and sexist to me as a male, but also as a viewer. What makes this really bad, though, is the fact that the main character, Louie, is depicted as some sort of antichrist douchebag, when in truth, he's actually just a blockheaded doofus who actually has a really good heart. And when you watch the show, you'll see the real douchebags are actually the girls, because they treat him like a pile of dog shit, and the show never really improves with this, because it's this whole source of humor, is that Louie sucks, and we have to castrate him in every episode. I mean, there's one episode where they actually joked about cutting his throat, and the only thing they were worried about was spilling his blood on the floor. Really? That's your source of humor? That's not funny. That's freaking rude. That's just insulting. That's just insulting to my intelligence as a human being. Because to me, this character doesn't deserve that treatment. Anybody who watches the show, I guarantee you will feel the same way. They treat this character like shit, and people have committed suicide over less horrendous insults that they give Louie. He's not that bad of a guy, and this show makes him seem like he is, when in truth, he's not, and that's really bad writing. Flaw number 2 is that the show actually does get a much more serious plot line towards the end, but it comes way freaking too late. It's like they bring up a serious plot in episode 16, but they don't even bring it up until like episode 22, 23. They took way too long of a time to insert a more serious epic storyline, and by not dividing it amongst the rest of the series and spreading it out, you made the show look way too cluttered way too quickly, and that was a really bad way to handle the ending. And finally, number 3, Louie gets like multiple relationships between the women in the show. The problem is the show just drops it abruptly, and you really have no idea what the hell they were getting at, because nothing happens with any of the women or characters he forms a relationship with. It's like, why'd you even bother doing that if you're not going to mention anything? I'm not saying he has to pick one and go marry her at the end of the series, but don't bother setting up relationships if they're not going to go anywhere. Final wrap-up, Rune Soldier had the potential chops to be a very funny, kick-ass anime show. You had some really fun characters with Louie, Jason Douglas, Meryl, Alison Keith, all the rest. Great colors, great music. I loved the Adventure 101 whole plot storyline, and it really kept things fresh and interesting for each episode. But the show ultimately kicks itself in its own balls by drowning its sense of humor in blatantly unfunny and uninteresting sexist humor, wasting any proposed character relationships that go nowhere, and trying to jam too big of a storyline into too small of a last-minute time slot. Don't get me wrong, I did laugh at the show and I did find it funny, but ultimately, it could have been a lot funnier if you just took the humor in a less sexist approach. Bottom line, I give Rune Soldier 2 stars out of 5 stars. Well, that's all for now. This has been Bionic Time for BS Reviews. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye for now.